So, good evening. My name is Yolanda Jones, and this is Real Talk with Yolanda. And I am with Domestic Violence LLC. I am the CEO of Domestic Violence LLC. This recording, or should I say this podcast, is a continuation of the previous recording about my child abuse experience. Okay, so this is just a continuation. However, there is a caveat along with this one. This one will highlight more of a child being misunderstood. Okay, I took you briefly through some of the things I was subjected to during my childhood, but I did not cover everything. Okay, because time was of essence, and the recording at that time had already taken quite some time. So, right now, we're going to cover a continuation as I stated. But before we began, there was a article that I stumbled across that I really enjoyed reading, and it pretty much highlighted who and what I experienced as a child. And this is an article that I took out of Pixbay, Pixabay, and Pixel.com. So they receive the credits for what I'm going to cover with you today. And it's about some of the traits that children who have not received any love, what they experience, or what are some of the behaviors or personalities that they tend to spill over into adulthood, okay? Because we know that childhood is a critical time for emotional development. Unfortunately, not everyone experience a loving and nurturing upbringing. And I mean, that shows with today's society. Many in today's society are a exact example when we have road rage and customer wars and things of that nature. And I'm naming some of the actual TV shows like Customer Wars and Neighbor Wars and all kinds of wars. Um, Even court wars, people have become so bold where they will attack a judge in a courtroom. If that's not bold or having some kahunas, I don't know what is, but that's very bold. But yes, society have just become so unhinged, and they wonder why our children are behaving the way they're behaving. Because clearly, it's these adults that are showing these uncontrollable behaviors. But anyway, by understanding, um, we all have certain traits, right? So we're going to explore some of the traits that may be present in adults who did not receive any type of love or was told they was loved or any hugs when they were children. Okay, so maybe this can help you when you're out there trying to find someone to date. And if they start or if they begin showing some of these traits or behaviors, uh, time for you to go. Okay, so the first one is like emotional attachment. Okay, emotional detachment, not attachment. Emotional detachment. What this is that children who grow up feeling emotionally rejected learn to distance themselves as a coping mechanism. Example, what I shared in my previous recording about child abuse, isolating. And that's what I did a lot of, even when there were holidays, and even when my cousins would come and visit over my paternal family home. A lot of times I didn't want to play with them. I just, prefer to just stay in my room and write in my diary. But according to this article, it does explain that This emotional detachment can carry into adulthood, making it difficult for them to form healthy attachments or express their feelings openly. They may appear withdrawn or even cold, a defense mechanism to avoid further emotional pain. Now, that part right there, they may appear cold, meaning that, like me, for an example, I'm going to continue to use me because this is what this one is about, misunderstood. And oftentimes, as a child coming up into my teenage and even young adults, I was family on my paternal side saw me as being rude or disrespectful if I did not speak and so forth. But that was my defense mechanism. I was not happy. Okay. So now, and even when I, came into adulthood, I remember my first job. Well, it wasn't my first job because my first job was telemarketing, but my job thereafter was working at a boutique in the mall here in Texas. And I never worked sales a day in my life, but I needed a job. So I got hired at this particular job. And part of the requirements of the job is those of you know who have worked in the sales industry, you have to greet customers as they're coming in and say hello, good morning, how can I help you, and all that good stuff. Well, I wasn't about that because to me it wasn't a good morning, first of all, because I had to get up early and I was never a morning person. So I'm still trying to wake up. Okay, is now the store open. I think it was like a Saturday, and the store had opened up like around 9:30 ish because most stores, usually open up at 10, but back then they open up at 9. So to me, that was still too early for me to have to be there because I had to get up early in order to get there. So the manager had called me over to the desk, and she whispered to me. She said, "Yolanda, you have to smile." And I said, "But I don't feel like smiling." She said, "But it's part of the job. You have to greet your customers." I said, "Okay." So, and to me, to smile, to me, I'm like, why do I have to force myself to smile when I don't feel like smiling? There's nothing to smile about. It's too early in the morning, first of all, to even be here. I haven't even had breakfast. So, of course, I lost that job because I got fired because I was not sociable. But they wrote down that I was non-sociable. I was very stoic, and I've heard this word stoic so many times in my working careers. I've had a lot of supervisors who would write that in my employee file. I had a very stoic personality. Okay, stoic, STOIC. Stoic means that you just you're, as this article is discussing, cold. You're just stone faced, basically. You don't budge a smile as if you had a whole bunch of Botox in your face. But yeah, that's what stoic mean. And for years, I went on through life like that. It took a lot for me to have to smile. And I would always say it took special people to make me smile. And that was a type of individual that I had wanted in my life. If excuse me, if a person male, if a male could crack a joke, or just, he didn't even have to crack a joke, but if he did something that was normal to him, but it was funny to me, and I'm like, if I'm dying laughing about it, to me, that's a person that I know can keep me laughing. So that was the type of person I would gravitate to, someone who could make me laugh, because not everybody could make me laugh. Okay. So yeah. So that's that emotional detachment. If you meet someone who just appear to be cold, but they're really not cold. There's some things that may have happened. So, and that is one of them. Okay, another one of an individual who may have experienced some form of no loving, no hugging, no I love you, any of that, is someone who may suffer from some self sufficiencies. What I mean by that, some self sufficiencies are such as no lack of dependable support. When I say that, is like some adults who weren't loved as children often become fearlessly independent. Like they don't want no one to help them. That was me. That was definitely me. I didn't want anyone to help me, because I grew up in that environment that I didn't have anyone to help me. So when I became an adult, if a man tried to open the door for me, I'm like, and I would just, walk on through, or, I wasn't used to anyone holding the door, as they call it, chivalry. I wasn't used to that. So when it happened, I'm like, okay, like I can't open the door myself, you know. So again, I was very independent. Did not want anyone to do anything for me. I did not want to ask anyone to do anything for me. I would rather go without than to ask family or anyone to do anything for me. And I really had to be really, really at my lowest for me to have the guts to even ask for any help. Okay. They also rely solely on themselves, and that's what I did. I could not rely on anyone. I did not trust anyone to even have my back because I never had it when I was a child. And having learned that they can't count on others, yes, that was me, definitely. I couldn't count on anyone, others to meet any of my emotional needs. So if I could not, or if I did not have anyone to meet my emotional needs, why would I want someone to help me physically? Do that myself. While self sufficiency can be a positive trait, it can also lead to isolation and difficulty accepting help from others. And that definitely was me. It was hard for me to allow anyone to help me. And then when I eventually joined the military, had to attend boot camp. Well, it's considered active duty boot camp. I attended Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and everyone who has ever been in the military knows about South Carolina, and that is that it's considered Tank Hill. They call it Tank Hill because it has a lot of steep mountains. So the soldiers had to run up those mountains. And your first day of doing PT is what they call it, physical therapy. Or, it seemed like, now that I'm in a civilian sector, saying civilian or physical therapy, it sounds like, I'm actually, seeing a private chiropractor or somebody, because of a knee injury. But it was called PT. Okay. So your first day of showing the drill sergeants what you're able to do is by running. Not everybody was able to make it up the hill, and then coming down the hill was not an issue. It was always going up the hill that was the issue. Okay. But I would say about my third day, second. I want to say second, but I don't want to. I would say more so about my third time doing that run. After that, it was like, it was no, it was no problem. Okay, so now the next um, issue, or shall I say, The next problem that individuals who suffer from child abuse because of, either not, receiving enough of hugs, enough of love, saying I love yous, enough of kisses, enough of affirmations. Oh, you're doing good in school and so forth. And oftentimes they lose or they begin to have very little self esteem about themselves. Negative messages and lack of love in childhood can leave a lasting impact on self worth. Um, Oftentimes, adults may struggle with low self esteem, believing they are unlovable or not good enough, especially that not good enough, because I experienced that. I felt I was not good enough for my paternal family. Nothing I did was good enough for them. If I received a C, it wasn't good enough. I had to have gotten a B. If I received a B, it wasn't good enough. I had to receive an A. So when you continue on that line of not of causing a child to feel or believe that they're not good enough, no matter what they bring to you, they're not good enough. That's what they start to believe. Okay, they might have difficulty accepting compliments or praise, attributing positive feedbacks to external factors rather than their own merit. To receive Yeah, I would say that because to receive compliments later on in my adult life, it was like, okay, now what do you want from me? That was the first thing that went through my mind. Somebody gave me a compliment. Okay, well, what is it you want? Because I associated that with them wanting something if they gave me a compliment. So, yes, my childhood, I would say my adulthood and going into my first marriage really set me up for failure. Not having that that emotional connection or that emotional support as a child, not receiving affirmations, always feeling that I'm not good enough, that led to my downfall. That led to my poor decisions in a husband. Okay, because I never received anything positive. So of course, when I get into my mid 20s and I'm going off to freshman in college, and some nice looking man's, giving me compliments. Ooh, ooh, yes, okay. I'm not gonna lie. That's exactly what happened, and I'm so glad that when I, had my daughter. Matter of fact, even when I had my son, because I had my son first. But when my daughter came along, she received nothing but, oh, you're pretty, you're a little princess. Oh, you're so adorable. Oh, I love you. I love you. Ooh, you just. We did that. When I say we, myself and my parents and my siblings, we gave my daughter so much affirmation, so much, to the point that when she began dating, her young man gave her a rose, and she said, "Oh, okay, thank you." And she told me when she came home, she said he was waiting for me to say I love you, because he had said it first. And I said, so what you say? And she said, well, I hear I love you all my life, so it wasn't nothing. And I just laughed. And see, that's how it should be with our little girls when they go on their first date. And that little boy, he don't love nobody. He just infatuated, okay? But when that little boy tell your daughter, "Oh, I love you," she should not be. She should not have to be able to do that because she should have heard it all her life. Do you get me, people? Do you get me? Okay. And even with your sons, because with my son, I said, "Oh, you're so handsome. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you." I always kept kissing on my son. And up until when he was 14, and I was dropping him off to his varsity football game. And I said, wait a minute, let me get a hug. And I did that. He was like, Mom, only because there was young ladies standing around, and they was like, is Mama kissing you? Look, I don't care. I'm gonna kiss my baby. And even though they're both in their 30s now, my daughter's 34, she'll be 35 next month, and my son is 38, he'll be 39. I will still give them hugs and kisses. I don't care how old you get, you know. And that's the problem, because I didn't get it when I was raised by my paternal family. So I told myself, when I have children, they're going to hear, I love you. They're going to receive affirmations from me. I don't want them to wait until they get out there at school and hear it for the first time. I want them to hear it from me. And that's exactly what happened. And to this day, my daughter does the same thing with her son, and her son just turned 5. And every time you turn around, he'd be like, Mommy, Mommy, okay, Mommy. Hey, you got to break that cycle from those parents back that did not give affection, didn't and actually neglected their children. Okay, I can't recall when I believe I shared this in the previous recording, that I don't recall, even when I became older and lived with my parents, I don't recall my mother ever saying I love you, or even telling any of us that she loved us, or even gave us a hug. It appeared as though we had to actually, if we wanted a hug, we had to just go over there and just hug her. She'd be like, "Come now, go on." But I do remember that when I came home on R&R from Iraq for 2 weeks, and I sat on my mother's lap, and that's when she, held me, and I had my arm around her, and she just, sat there. But other than that, I don't. It's, what, I truly understand that many of our parents that were born there before the 50s, like in the 40s and 30s and 20s, they grew up during an era where I don't believe many of them, especially many minorities, received any form of affections. Maybe some had, but I don't recall any of my parents ever receiving that. Okay, so and parents are only going to do, well, not all the time, because I didn't raise my children the way my parents raised me. So I can't say parents will mimic, what their parents did, because that's not always the case. But I mean, if you were not, the majority of them just don't hug. Okay, and also another trait that you'll find in individuals who have not received love, or was told that I love you, and receive hugs and affirmations during as a child, is intimacy. They fear intimacy, meaning intimacy can feel really risky for those who experience emotional neglect or inconsistencies in their childhood. Okay, I'm breaking this down. Having their emotional needs unmet can lead to a fear of getting close to others, fearing that they will be hurt again. So I'm not going to get close to you, even though have this little puppy dog love, or you like me, or you wrote a little note. I like you. Do you like me? Yes or no? Come on now. So I'm certain many of you have received those little notes when you was in grade school, junior high school. I don't think. Well, yeah, we did it in high school too. Passing notes. But oftentimes, the person who's been hurt may subconsciously sabotage relationships when things get too intimate, pushing partners away, before they can be rejected. And that's how I was until my children's father came along. It was as if slowly I started letting down those walls, I started to become more sociable when I started my freshman year of college because I wanted to be a lot like the other girls. They was all, I'm not gonna say loose, but they was bold, and I would just stand on the sideline and just look, like a little nerd, because I didn't know what to do. I was afraid. So yeah, I experienced all of that, all of it. That's how I would just, bait it. Also, pleasing tendencies. That's me. I did a lot of that. I always wanted to please people. I always wanted people to be happy. I always, I was afraid of hurting people's feelings. In an attempt to gain the love and approval. Tend to lack that many of them lacked as children. Adults who were in love as children may develop strong people pleasing tendencies. They may go to great lengths to pleasing other people, sacrificing their own needs and desires to avoid conflicts or disappointments. This can also lead to resentment and a feeling of inauthenticity in their relationship. It can also, for some, it can be called passive aggressive because you're harboring your true feelings. If someone asks you, can you come with me to the grocery store? And you really don't want to go, but you say, yeah, okay, I'll go. But inside, you don't want to go. But because you don't want to hurt that person's feelings, or you don't want or shall I say, you think that person will be upset if you say no. So that's your perception of what you think that person is going to say, or their response is going to be if you said no. So a lot of times you go along with them, and that's what I did all my life. I went along with people, knowing I did not want to, do this or do that, but I went along so that they can like me. I'm like, this article just pulled me right out of there, because that's this all it is exactly how I was. Exactly. And then of course I'm gonna have them trust issues. I'm definitely gonna have them trust issues. Difficulty trusting others is a common trait. Common trait in people who come from emotionally neglected environment. Early experiences of betrayal, of inconsistency, can make it hard for them to trust the intentions of others. Oh my goodness, this hit, woo, that hit the nail in the coffin, because that's exactly what I experienced in my previous job. I worked for the government for, I would say, about a couple of years, and then I would say about what, 12 years. But I had enough of civilian government services with my combined active duty and all that good stuff. But anyway, so during my time working for this particular agency, I had a supervisor, and I mentioned her in my previous recording. She was very rude. She was mean. She was prejudiced. She was racist. And I'm not saying this and calling the racist card. For those of you who want to jump in and say, "Oh, there's another one calling the racist card," trust me, she was racist. Okay. There were several congressional complaints against this particular supervisor, okay, because of that and many other things, okay. But this particular supervisor, she nothing I could ever do was good enough for her. Nothing. Nothing I could ever have done was good enough for her. I didn't trust her because she would say one thing and then do something else, or, if I'm processing a claim and I find or I discover some issues with that claim, like it was previously processed incorrectly, and I bring it to her attention, or for, I bring it to that other person's attention for them to correct it. And if they want to go back and forth with me and say, no, I'm not correcting it because it's correct, and I'm like, okay, no problem. Hey, that's what you believe, okay. I never enjoyed or even wanted to have confrontation with anyone in the workplace. But, so I would take that claim to her, and I would, explain to her, okay, well, this claim was processed incorrectly previously, and I already took it to the individual and I brought it to their attention, and they want to go tit for tat with me and tell me it's correct and this is that. Well, she would say, okay, well, you tell them that I said, that they need to correct that or so forth, right? Okay. So because this person would have known this supervisor way before me and years before me, they would go behind my back, go back to that same supervisor. They have a little words. I don't know what, they discuss. All of a sudden, she'll come back and walk over to my desk and tell me, well, Yolanda, you need to, do it the way so and so, so and so, so. That right there, if you don't know how to be a supervisor and hold your own, stand your ground, then you don't need to be in that position. Because if you letting another employee who only have a 10 years to your 20 something years tell you what they not going to do, then you don't need to be in that position. Again, but because I didn't have that many years underneath my belt, hey, whatever I said didn't go. But anyway, but yeah, trust issues. Um, um, that's that's very true when it comes down to people who, were neglected as a child. They may be suspicious and guarded, constantly on the lookout, and signs that someone might hurt them. And that was me, if you were to speak to any of my coworkers where I used to work, they'll tell you I came to work, I did my job, I went home. I kept my circle very small. I didn't trust anyone. I just didn't. And I always said that it was a gift that God gave me because I can feel the energy a lot of times, the negative energy when someone would come near me. That's how that environment was. It was a very toxic environment. Okay. So yeah, trust issues, trust. Oh my God, trust issues is a thing where folks that have been neglected as a child. And then another trait is perfectionism. Perfectionism, being a perfectionist. Now, this article mentions a relentless pursuit of flawlessness might be a way of those who weren't loved as children to compensate for feeling of inadequacy or a need to control their environment. They may set impossibly high standards for themselves and others. Now that I did, believing that only perfection will earn them acceptance or love. But this constant pressure to be perfect can lead to anxiety, disappointment, and difficulty enjoying life's imperfections. And that exactly was me. I've, you know, coming back from Iraq, I was diagnosed several things. However, it appears that I suffered from this perfectionism all my life. Did not know or was not aware I had OCD. Now, prior to moving with this particular family, or I would say my paternal family, I didn't have any type of OCD or any type of perfectional anything. I was just a child, enjoying being a child. But when my sister and I moved in with my paternal family, we were like the movie Cinderella. We were the Cinderellas, okay? Instead of there being one, there was two. So after school, like I had shared in the previous one, after school, we were not allowed to go outside. We had to, of course, first do our homework, and then after that, we had to clean the house. When I say the entire house, I'm talking about the entire house. And my grandparents lived in a brownstone. Okay, that consisted of three levels, a basement, which was, you might as well say an apartment by itself because it had everything that a home would require for it to be labeled as a home. And then we have the second floor, which was the main floor. Okay, that's where you had your dining room, your kitchen, all of your basic stuff, and two bedrooms, which was my big mama's, which was my grandmother's mother, and then one of my uncles lived on that main floor. I mentioned that too in the previous pod that he was during that time a drug addict and an alcoholic. And then we had the third level, which was the top level. That's where all the rest of the rooms were. And up on that floor was my grandparents' room, another aunt's room, another aunt's room, another aunt's room, and then it was mine and my sister's room, and then there was another room. So there were a lot of rooms. Okay, it was a total. I mentioned in the other pod, it was 11 of us, and that included the dog and the cat. Okay, today people consider them people or humans, but yeah, we had a dog and a cat. So, back to my story with regards to professionalism. The parts of the house that we had to clean was everything. I know you about to say that I was going to pick and no, no, no. We had to clean everything except for like our auntie's rooms and our uncle's rooms. We didn't have to touch those. We didn't have to touch my grandparents' rooms, anything like that. But we had to clean the kitchen, even though if we didn't make a mess, we had to, especially since we've been at school all day. Okay, all day we've been at school, but yet and still we have to clean the kitchen. If there was dishes in the sink, we had to clean that. We had to not only clean them and rinse them, but we also had to hand dry them and put them up. Okay. Then in the dining room, we had to dust, what they call dusting. Most kids wouldn't even know what that is, but we had to dust. We had furniture polish that we had to spray on the wood, on the oh gosh, all these big names. Anyway, the entire dining room had a lot of artifacts from different countries because I had aunts that traveled a lot. So every time when they traveled, they would bring back some type of an artifact. So we had to dust those, get all the dust off of it also. Um, and then after that, we had to clean the living room where my grandfather, who was an alcoholic, he stayed in the living room pretty much all day, and just just laid out on the floor sometimes, or he would be laid out in his special chair all the time because he's just drunk. My grandfather would wake up in the morning drinking and would drink all day, and then often. Um, Many neighbors or nearby neighbors would ring my grandmother's door and tell her, Miss Jones, Charlie is down the way about 2 blocks on such and such street. He's laid out, on the corner. So of course, my uncles always had to go and bring him home. It was embarrassing. Yes, it was very embarrassing to a point that when you grow up in a particular environment, it soon no longer becomes embarrassing. Okay. Now, if a rich person or a person that's wealthy, or a friend come from a very high standard type of environment, came to visit or befriended me, and I brought them to my home, they would, have their nose up in the air, like, because to them it's just, but it was the norm for us. It no longer became embarrassing. It no longer became embarrassing. But yeah, and then my grandmother and my auntie, who would travel a lot back and forth to Africa and in Switzerland and London and Paris, all them different places. She would travel. And then another aunt, I had one aunt who enjoyed visiting places, parts of Europe, and everything. And then I had another aunt that the only places she liked to visit was like the Virgin Islands type of places, like St. Martin and St. John and St. Croix, and I'm tripping because they acted during that time that because they was going to all these vacations all the time, that they was all this in the bag of Doritos when they really wasn't. But anyway, so yes, perfection. And to this day, I still don't like when things are out of order. I don't. I don't like chaos. Even at my job, because I had to retire early because of mental health as well as medical reasons. I couldn't sit too long. That's why you see me moving around a lot in this chair, because I'm trying to reposition. But I couldn't sit too long. I couldn't stand too long. Even though we had those retractable desks that you can stand up and finish, working, even that became a problem for me, because when I would go to stand up, I couldn't even stand up too long. So that became a real big issue. Just walking up the stairs, just walking, period, became a big issue for me. So, but yeah, perfectionism, yes, that was, yeah, I still had those type of issues because it bothered me when, we constantly received emails, about, okay, please review this because based on this, you have to process the claim a certain way. Okay, no problem, got it. And then as soon as you process that claim a certain way according to that particular memorandum, you get another one in less than 5 minutes. Oh, this is a revision of what they just sent. And that went on all day, all day, all day, all day at work. So how does a person actually, like me, I'm not talking about anybody else, but how can a person who already suffers from perfection be able to operate in that type of environment when things are not consistent? Because when you are a perfectionist or you have OCD, everything has to be dressed right, dressed. You can't take anything out of order. It's like a person who's autistic. They have a certain way. They have their focus. And if you take things out of order, they know this. And oftentimes it causes them to become very upset. Well, that's how it is with a person with OCD or a person that is a perfectionist and have to have things done a certain way. It causes chaos all in their brain. I just really can't go into depth about what it feels like, but it's a lot of chaos. It caused me, I'm speaking about me, it caused me to be so unbalanced, unfocused, confused, with the constant inconsistencies. Okay. With that caused a lot of ailments in my body. Okay. My some of my medical conditions started worsening, because it was affecting my entire nervous system, because I was steady. It seemed as if, for an example, this is a good example. I'm steady trying to push a wall that's not going anywhere, and the wall is steady pushing me back, and I'm steady trying to push that wall, and I'm pushing that wall. And and every time I get it at least 2 3 spaces in front of me, that wall keep pushing me back. Okay, well, I'm not making any progress. Okay, well, that's how it felt with the inconsistencies with at work. Okay, the next thing is controlling behaviors. They may try to control situations or people in an attempt to avoid feeling powerless, mirroring experiences from their childhood, having grown up in an unpredictable and a chaotic and toxic environment. They may crave a sense of order. I just got to explain that to you. Order and control. This can manifest in controlling behaviors like micromanaging tasks, making decisions for others, or isolating themselves from situations they can't control. That was me. Okay. I do that now, even with my family. If I'm around my family, and if I even tense any type of chaos that is going on of any sort, or if I cannot help to mitigate the situation, and I see that's getting out of control, I leave. I leave. I come home. I don't like chaos. I don't like confrontations. But and oftentimes I'm not going to back down from confrontations either. But I don't like confrontations, meaning I will not start confrontation with anyone. That's not me. That never was me. But yeah, I will try to help others to resolve their issues, and if I can't, I'm gonna let it go, and I'll just go on. I do have a tendency of micromanaging. If I ask someone to do something for me, I don't. Yeah, I will admit I will micromanage to make certain that they're doing it and they're doing it correctly. And yeah, I've done that. I've done that. But I think I'm getting better at that because my event coordinator, she's really great. And last year when she designed the venue for our ninth um, celebratory anniversary. Well, yeah, our ninth, because this year is our 10th. I try to stay there to help, and she was like, "Go, go! You got to get dressed, go." So I did. I listened to her. So at least I made some progress, and letting people go ahead and take the lead sometime. And plus, being in the military and being in a NCO, a sergeant position, delegating, it's kind of hard sometimes to take off that hat and let somebody else do something. So with the neglect from being a child, and then the abuse from being from my children's father, and then the military where I had to put everything, and have structure and everything and delegate, and so it's like my brain was going haywire. Like, okay, well, weren't you told, or weren't you not doing that before? But now you're doing this now, and So yeah, it's a lot of that. And another thing is codependency. Now I don't know about this one, but according to this article, it says in a desperate attempt to fulfill their emotional needs, people who were in love as children may form unhealthy codependent attachment. Yeah, I guess that does apply to me. They might cling to others, becoming overly reliant on their partner or friend for validation and emotional support. This can create imbalance and suffocating relationships, hindering their own personal growth and independence. With regards to my situation, I can see that I depended a lot on my children's father because he too was in the military. And he was 6 years older than I was at the time when we met. So excuse me, excuse me, he pretty much took care of everything in the home. He paid the bills. He made certain that the vehicles were up and running. He changed the oil. He checked the fluid levels. He changed tires. He did everything. The only thing that I really had to do in that marriage was just keep the home clean and cook. Now there were several times he cooked too. He may not have cooked a fancy meal, but he cooked. So we had some sense of balance there, but I still depended on him. So when the time came and I had to go my way with the children and I because of being subjected to the domestic violence, it was a hard pill to swallow because here I am now, no money, I had no job, and at that time I had no advanced college education because remember, I dropped out of college when I met him. I had only done what 1 year of freshman college. So yes, I had nothing. So I felt helpless, and there were several times I wanted to go back, but I did not want to go back, knowing that the abuse was going to repeat, and then what I would have been doing would be showing my children that this is normal behavior when it wasn't. So, but yes, it was difficult. So to all of my domestic violence survivors, or even my sex trafficking survivors, or any of my survivors that have ever been subjected to any form of abuse, and you're now on your own. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's going to be difficult, but you just have to believe and pray that God align the right people, in your path that will come and help and support you. But you don't throw in the towel. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Anything in life worth having is going to be difficult. That's what I always was told, and that's what I passed on to my children. If you get anything too easy, then that's exactly. You need to go on and send it back where it came from because it's too easy. Okay. And the next thing, anger issues. Oh my gracious. Yes, I suffered with anger issues because I wasn't able to express myself when I was a child. I couldn't cry, even when I was getting beatings, because I don't call them whippings or whoopings or swats. No, no, back then that's what they called them. But now we in a different time and different era. Those were called beatings. Anytime you are being beat with a belt buckle, a heel of a shoe, or what else? Extension cord, or a broom, a mop, or you getting stuff thrown at you like a lamp, or that's abuse. Okay. And those are not whoopings; those are beatings. There's a difference in spanking and beatings. And but yeah, anger issues. So even when they was doing that, they would be beating us and telling you, shut up, close your mouth, stop that crying if I give you some more. Well, hey, how can I stop crying if you still beating me? I have lion skin where I don't feel anything. So how can you tell me to stop crying when you're still beating me? And leaving wet some all on my body? But yeah, anger issues. So, unexpressed anger from childhood can resurface later in life as irritability and aggression. I have plenty of that. Anyone who knows me, I have irritability, I have aggression, and also that passive aggressive behavior. I don't have that no more. I don't have a problem telling you how I feel today. Okay, I'm sorry if you keep seeing me doing it. I'm just rolling up my sleeve because I'm really getting into this. So, but yes, back then, yes, I had passive aggressive personality, or passive aggressive behavior. Not today. So today I'm more voiceful. Today, I'll tell you how I feel. Today, I may think about not responding to you just to keep the peace, because you would really want me to keep the peace. So today, I'm more level headed, but I get triggered. I ain't gonna lie, I get triggered. I get triggered from childhood PTSD. I get triggered from war PTSD. I get triggered. So depending on what somebody is, well, depending on what someone say or how they may say it, or depending on a certain song that comes on the radio, or I may get triggered. Last week I had saw two movies on Prime Video. No, they was on Netflix. I think it was no Prime Video. Was it? I'm trying to. I can't remember if it was on. I think it was on Netflix. Anyway, I have two LinkedIn colleagues who are survivors themselves, and they're producers, and they have asked me to view the movie that they produced. And I was like, okay, no problem. Mind you, it's been a little over 35 years that I have moved on out of abusive relationships. So I didn't think anything of it, that I was gonna feel any certain kind of way, but just watch it, you know. And because there was a time I couldn't even tell my story or share my story without crying and having to stop in between times. So I'm in a better place now. I'm living my best life. I'll tell anybody that in a heartbeat. But I watched one of the movies, and I'm like, okay, okay, yeah, that happened to me too. Yep, that right there. Yep. So I'm watching this movie. I'm like, wow, that happened too, man. And then when I started hearing, and I would say when I started hearing all of that, I started, jumping and, doing all that. I'm like, dang, Yolanda, calm down, calm down. That right there was a trigger. Certain things that was going on in that movie was a trigger for me. And I share that with my colleague. When I, wrote up her review, I said, yes, I said, it was an awesome movie and you covered some great points. I said, but it did trigger me, but I was okay. So that was my disclaimer to let her know, yeah, that was a trigger. But even though I don't care how long a person have been through or have gone through any form of abuse, it's always going to be at least some type of a trigger that's going to cause them to have that flashback of what happened or some type of similarities as to what happened that is a lot like what they're looking at. Okay. So unexpressed anger from childhood can resurface later in life as irritability, aggression, or passive aggressive behavior, having never learned any healthy ways to cope with their emotions. They might struggle to manage their anger, leading to outbursts or difficulty communicating their feelings in a constructive way. That was me. I got angry many a times, right after I got a beaten, or when I was being, mistreated or ignored or whatever. I would just go in my room and throw everything off my dresser, just mess up my room, not even realizing ain't nobody gonna come in that room and clean it up but you. But I did that. I did that. I can't recall ever having an anger outburst with my children's father. I don't believe I did. I think I kept that inside. So I don't believe. Of course, I yelled. I yelled a lot. But as for like just throwing temper tantrums and throwing things, and whenever I got upset, I can't recall I did that in my marriage. I don't recall. But I did do that. I did start doing that after I got divorced, and I started dating other individuals. If I got upset, I would like throw stuff and things like that, and then they would be trying to talk to me, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. Why? Because I never learned how to. I never learned any type of healthy coping skills when I was upset. There's nothing wrong with people getting angry. God got angry, okay? But He said, be angry, but sin not. So there's nothing wrong with being angry. It's just how we cope with that anger when we are angry. Whether it is to just go to another room and count to 10 or do some exercise, do some jumping jacks, take a walk or something, but cool off. come back when you're level headed, and see if you guys can pick up from where you left off, and both, try to resolve it in a civil way. That is something I didn't learn. Then again, by the time I was 23 years old, I was already married with two kids. Okay. So my entire teenage, well, not my entire teen, but my early adulthood from 18 and on, I really didn't have that because I was already a mother and a wife. I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't know how to be a wife. I had to, just learn as I go. I just had to learn how to learn as I go, and learn and, do what I saw as a child. I didn't know how to cook, but I ended up cooking because I used to always, watch, my aunties, my grandparents, my mom, I used to watch. So that's how I learned how to cook. I didn't know how to take care of no child, but I watched a lot of commercials and TV, and I saw aunts, changing, cousins' diapers, so, and my grandparents. So that's how I learned. Not one time did I have an adult say, okay, well, this is how you do this, and this, and this, and this. Now, I do recall my mother mentioning something about boiling the bottles. And that she did, teach me about boiling the bottles. So, and I was so glad that when my daughter had my grandson, that those days was over with. Now they got the little inserts, you just pop them out and boom, boom, boom. But when I had my children, we had to boil the bottles and pull them out with a tongue, pull them out, sit them down, let them cool off, and then open up the can of Similac or whatever, milk that the baby had to, drink during that time. Pour them in there, and, you know, and I had to do that every night to get them ready, to get my youngest ready for like daycare. So hey, that was a life that we had to, deal with back then. Just learning as you go. Nowadays, folks have babies. Everything is just easy now. It's easy to have a baby. It seems like everything else is easy, but when it comes down to being there and protecting your child, because I'm gonna always talk about that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if this is your first time joining me and hearing me, look at my other podcasts because I'm talking about mothers, parents, fathers not protecting their children and allowing their children to be kidnapped and molested and violated and raped and all this other stuff. So, but I don't want to go in there because those of you who have followed me know I will go on and on and on and on. I go on a tantrum when it comes down to talking about children. Okay. So yeah, anger issues. Okay. But I'm getting better. Now if I disagree with someone, I'm not going to go tit for tat with you. I'm not going to do it because to me, it's a waste of my energy. And I'm too old for that now. I'm too old for that. Okay. But don't come at me sideways now because you don't, no, you don't want to do that. Okay. Now, no, the next one is difficulty with boundaries. Now, I don't believe I had any issues with boundaries. If anything, I had issues with other people not keeping their distance from me or and being all up in my area or up in my space. Okay. But as for me, but healthy boundaries are essential for emotional well-being. But those who weren't loved as children may struggle to establish or maintain them. They might tolerate disrespect or manipulations from others unclear of their own needs and rights. This can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and difficulty setting limits in their relationship. Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's like every time when I say, no, that's not me. But then when I go a little further and I start talking about, like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, setting boundaries. My issue that I struggled with up until now, because I don't have that problem now, is having or being able to say no. Okay, I never wanted to hurt anyone's feelings. So if somebody asked me, whether they was a family or a friend, they asked me, "Do you have $50 that I can borrow?" And knowing that I did not have it to give, I had it, but I didn't have it to give. Knowing that I did not have it to give because I had to pay my own bill, whether it was trash bill or water bill or whatever, I would say sure. So now I don't have my bill money. So now what happens is now I'm late on my bill, and now that has affected my credit, and that has happened several times. Yes, so yeah, so after a while, that keeps happening and happening and happening, start messing up my credit, and I can't get what I want to get because I'm behind and I'm late on my bills because I'm worrying about everybody else. It becomes an issue. So I've learned. Slowly, I'm still learning though, because I still have, I still don't like for people to be without. Okay, and yeah, I'm still working on me. I am a work in progress, as I say. I am a work in progress for certain. Okay, but as for me standing my grounds, I don't have a problem with that. Me saying what's on my heart, I don't have a problem with that. Me saying what I'm feeling, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem. And if I feel, no, I'm not gonna say feel. If I think what about to say to you is going to offend you, I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna leave you alone. I ain't gonna say nothing to you. I'm not gonna say nothing to you. Not gonna say nothing to you unless somehow what needs to be said strikes up a conversation for it to lead in that direction, and then I will mention it. But because I don't like to offend people, just like I don't like people to offend me, unintentionally or otherwise. Okay. The next part is about another trait that you'll find with individuals who have, shall I say, not had a good childhood, is addiction. Turning to substance or activities can be a way to numb emotional pain of escape, difficult feelings. Adults who didn't receive enough love in childhood may be more susceptible to addiction using substances like alcohol, drugs, or even technology to cope with emotional distress, loneliness, or unresolved trauma. Now, I will say, at least I can say this much: when it comes down to substance abuse, that was not me. That was never me. And the reason why I say that is because my maternal family, as I shared in the other podcast, were alcoholics. And also, I shared in other podcasts that I realized that it's genetic because when my babies were small, after I had left my husband and we have, stayed in several domestic violence shelters, and then when I finally was able to have our own home to rent and so forth. While they were in school, before I picked them up from daycare and kindergarten, I would stop at the local gas station and I would buy one wine cooler. So when they went to bed or whatever, I would drink my wine cooler. After I took a shower, I took a bath, I drank my wine cooler, went to bed. Then the next day, I would go ahead and do the same thing, same routine. But this time I would get two. Next day I would get three. Next day I got four. And then I started mixing them. Sometimes, I would get a daiquiri and a pina colada and a mango, and, I'll mix them up. It got to the point that it got up to six, I believe it was. And it got to the point where I was sitting there while my children was asleep, and I would drink all of the bottles, all of them, because to me they did not taste like there were alcohol in it. They really didn't. I just thought when they were advertising on the commercials, I just thought they was a nice fruity drink, you know. Until I got to the point where I learned that, and that's when I was like, ooh, but they tasted like regular Kool-Aid to me. So that let me know right there that I cannot indulge in alcohol because I have a high propensity propensity of becoming an alcoholic, like the individuals on my father's side. So I don't indulge. Then, when I had reserve weekends, after reserve, because my children weren't with me at the time, I would hang out with some, my colleagues, and we would go to the local bar where all the veterans hung out in Chicago. And my favorite drinks back then, hanging out with the guys, because I worked in a motor pool, so I was always the only female. I always drank rum and coke, gin and juice, vodka and juice. So those were my favorite drinks. And there were several times I could not drive back home because we lived in the suburban Illinois, and my reserve unit was in the city of Chicago, so to speak. And a lot of people lived around, a lot of the soldiers lived around the city of Chicago. So I couldn't never drive home. So I will always sleep at like the my higher platoon senior NCO's home. We all crash out there at his place because he was the oldest of us. We all used to call him Pops, basically. I don't even know if he's even alive today because he was kind of old back then. Um, he was in his 60s, and that was in the 90s. So he's probably out there gone now, or who knows. But anyway, yeah. So he wouldn't allow us to drive because some of us lived life in the really bad parts of Chicago, and I lived in the suburban areas and everything. So we would all just crash out there after our drill weekend. And then on that next day, that Sunday, we will all, head on home. But to this day, and I just turned 58 yesterday, I do not, buy alcohol. I do not buy any to even leave in my home. Now, I will say on special occasions like Christmas, New Year's, and all that, if my daughter or a friend of the family brings some eggnog with some alcohol in it, yeah, I'll drink a little, drink, maybe I have, but I know my limits because of my genes. So, yeah. And I have folks in my family as well as my colleagues, they understand that. So it's not like they're those type of so-called friends that they know you can't drink or you're not supposed to drink, but they're gonna still keep pouring it. No, they not like that. They respect, the fact that I don't want to drink. And then the next one is chronic loneliness. Despite being surrounded by people, adults, who weren't loved as children, and many experience a deep sense of chronic loneliness. This stems from a lack of emotional connections and feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. Yes, that's what I want to tell you. Yes, we oftentimes are misunderstood by others. They may crave intimacy but struggle to form meaningful relationships due to fear of vulnerability or past hurt. Like I said, we are often misunderstood because we want to be by ourselves sometimes. Or, people just don't understand that. It's like, okay, it's like, I'm going to give you something really simple. If a person has never been around an environment where people just smoke cigarettes and drink, smoke cigarettes and drink, smoke cigarettes and drink all the time, all the time, all the time, um, and then they come around people who don't smoke or drink, but they're a bunch of Christians and they read the Bible and they go to church, but they still have a good time. I don't know why people think just because people are Christians that they don't have a good time. They enjoy the same type of fun that any other person in the secular world enjoy. The only difference is we don't or shall I say, we're not supposed to violate our bodies by putting things in it that's not supposed to be in it. Some people may say alcohol, some may say drugs, you know. Hey, that's what y'all say. I'm gonna leave that alone because Jesus did turn water into wine, so I'm gonna leave that alone. But as for the other stuff, the drugs and the coke and the heroin and all that, that's not supposed to be in our bodies. Okay, so we can still, as Christians, still enjoy ourselves and have fun, but we don't have to have drugs. We don't have to have a table full of cocaine spread across the table or some heroin and be sniffing it. We don't have to have that to have fun. We don't have to have fun by listening to music that's telling you to shake your booty and all that stuff. We can listen to regular, nice, regular music, or we can listen to Christian music, and there's nothing wrong with that. People, each is to their own. Everybody wants to translate the Bible and the way it fits them. Okay, just hey, do you? That's all I can say. Just do you. What about self sabotaging behaviors? Again, that has to do with a lot of, I would say, when we self sabotage our behavior, what we're doing is we are not allowing ourselves um, to um, to see if we can reach a goal or something. Like, say, if you want to go, or it's me, if I wanted to pursue a PhD, but I say, you know what, I really want to go and try to pursue a PhD. Nah, I'm too tired. I can't even think straight. My mind is moving slow. There may be a bunch of younger, students in class, and they're gonna be a lot brighter than me. That's self sabotaging yourself because you didn't even allow yourself to even see if you could, um, you know, um, actually, do it, or actually attend college and or go back to school, pursue your education, your advanced education. You didn't even allow yourself. You have already self-sabotage. You already stopped yourself before you even tried. So that's what self-sabotaging is. So it's unconsciously recreating familiar patterns from your childhood. Whereas people who weren't loved may engage in self-sabotaging behaviors. They might push away good things or create problems in their lives, mirroring the emotional neglect or chaos they experienced earlier. This can be a defense mechanism to avoid getting hurt. Again, to avoid getting hurt, or a fear of happiness feeling unfamiliar or undeserved. And that means may feel that, okay, I'm feeling too happy. This person is being too good to me. This is not a familiar feeling. Matter of fact, I'm gonna use an even better example. I have seen her read where females have terminated their relationship with a man or a partner, whatever, because the partner was too nice. Matter of fact, there was an article that was on LinkedIn that was going around on LinkedIn, and it was a professional soccer player, millionaire, and all that good stuff. And he was married, but for some reason, his wife decided she wanted to divorce him because he was too perfect. If that's not asinine, I don't know what is. But that happens. There are women out here who prefer bad boys, or men out here who like bad girls. They don't want a good when I say good, I'm talking about they don't want a decent woman who has a career, who is advancing her education, who is a great athlete. They're not into that. They want a bad boy, someone that walks around at 30, 40, 50 years old with his pants hanging down and you see his drawers. Okay, that ain't cute. And I'm saying ain't because, and I know that's bad grammar, but y'all know what I'm talking about. That's not cute for a 30, 40, 50 year old man. We walking around with his pants hanging off his backside, and you can see his drawers and what color they are. Okay, some of them don't even wear any. Okay, that's not cute. Same thing for you ladies. Y'all be trying to do the same thing. That's not cute. Or you want to walk around with clothes that, you know what, ladies, I'm going to leave y'all alone because y'all already know. Y'all already know. Some of y'all need to get right. Okay. And the next thing is, I would say some of the baby boomers. Okay. Some of the baby boomers. Every day things change. Things change. We all know that things change all the time. All the time, things are changing. Hold on for a second. I don't know my phone. I could have sworn I turned my phone off, but apparently I didn't. Okay, so let me go on and turn this thing off because it's irritating me right about now. Okay, so but yeah, um, make me lose my thought. Respect. That's another thing. Respecting the individuals that we're with. That's something that some, not all, lack that, and because that's not what they saw. That's not what they received. It's just not. You know, it just wasn't their environment that they were in. Okay. Um, so but other than that, that's it that I wanted to share with you all today was the continuation of my child abuse experience and being misunderstood, because like I said, all my life I've been misunderstood, either because I did not want to associate with the majority, and or I was too quiet. Well, even today, um, I still have adopt those type of behaviors. When I say I've still adopted some of those behaviors, meaning I am still meticulous in who I allow in my circle, who I associate myself with. I don't like small talk. I'll tell anybody that in a heartbeat. And what gets me, the older I become, the less tolerant I become also, meaning back in the day in the 20, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't crazy about it then. And I guess now that I'm older, I'm really not crazy about it. And what I'm talking about, my people, is that when a gentleman, if you want to speak to a woman, if you want to get that woman's attention, please don't catcall her. Please, them days are over with. That was far gone back in the 70s and 80s. Okay, don't whistle at a woman. Don't catcall her. Okay, she's a woman. Okay, and women, you don't need to respond either. You not no cat. You ain't no four-legged cat. You don't let no man degrade you and be and be whistling and carrying on at you. Have some more self-worth about yourself. And then you need to stop it, okay? You know, you just don't do that. You don't do that. Stop calling these women. You want to actually speak to a woman, you wait until you're at that position, or like if she's walking across the street, you walk across the street too, and wait until she stop and wait for the bus, or she's at a standstill point, and you don't get too close now. You don't get too close up on them. Them days are gone. You can't get too close. You can't walk up on a woman nowadays too close. But you stand at a reasonable distance and you say, hello, I found you very attractive. You're a very beautiful woman, and then leave her alone. That don't give you a green light to keep coming at her and asking for her telephone number and all of that. If it's God's will, y'all, but you guys will bump into each other again, okay? Stop harassing women. And don't get upset when a woman don't even respond to you. Shoot, I can't stand when those males, I'm not going to say men, because a true man is not going to get offended just because a woman don't respond to him. Okay? So if a woman like myself, you go and say hello to me, you don't know what kind of day I had. So if I don't want to speak to you and I just ignore you, don't call me out my name. No, just leave me alone. You don't know what kind of day I had. You don't know if I'm unhinged or not. You gotta be careful out there, you guys. Same thing for you women, because some of you women are very bold. Start whistling at a man. And then if a man ignore you, oh, you want to do the same thing that the man does to the women. You want to call that man out his name. Leave that man alone. He may be married. Leave him alone. He don't have to respond to you. Oh my goodness. See, I started off nice, and now all of a sudden I'm taking it up. I'm taking it up, So, but yeah. But anyway, I'm about to end here, and I appreciate you all, beautiful people, tuning in with me for another edition of Real Talk with Yolanda. This recording will be uploaded to YouTube and Facebook. I try to upload several of my recordings for those who actually miss the recording because I never know when I'm going to record something. It may be a particular topic I want to address, or it just may be something I just want to just say something about. But either way, I try to come on here as often as I possibly can to and I'm trying to pave the way for many of my domestic violence and abuse victims and survivors who many have whose lives were cut short, unfortunately, very short due to abuse, and I'm also using my voice, or I'm trying to use my voice for those who are not able, or shall I say, um, um, due to fear, consistent fear, that they are afraid of using their voice. And then I'm their voice for those who have have yet to use their voice. So, in other words, I'm everybody's voice who have not yet used their voice to address the the plague that has plagued not only the U.S., but it has plagued other countries as well, as I have shared on many of my podcasts. Um, there used to be a time when women and children were respected, were treated preciously. Men guarded women and children. Um, that was something that played a big part in many of the U.S. wars because they knew to strap bombs on their children in Vietnam and in Saudi and Iraq and Somalia. And yeah, they knew to strap bombs on their children because they knew that the U.S. soldiers would not, or the airmen, would not shoot and kill a child. But those days are over with. And it's sad because now people are just doing whatever with children. They are kidnapping them. And that's why I've said several times, please, if you are one of those parents that have allowed your child 4 and 5 and 6 years old to ride their bike to and from school, please stop. Please stop. Don't do that, please. And especially, I mean, if you are a stay-at-home mom, there's no reason why your child should be walking by themselves to school. There should be no reason why your child should be riding a bike to school. If you a stay-at-home mom, get yourself up and walk with your child, take your child to school. Because if not, you're going to be the main one on channel ABC News, NBC, CNN. You're going to be the main one crying and yelling and screaming, talking about bring back my baby. And it won't be anybody's fault but your own, because you're allowing that door to be open for someone to kidnap your child. Stop doing that. We're not living in them days anymore where people can keep their doors unlocked and just tell their family members and friends, come on in. Yeah, yeah. Okay, you go ahead and leave that door unlocked now, and you hear somebody knocking on the door and you tell them to come on in. That may be the last time you tell somebody to come on in. People, think. Hey, if you know we can't even sleep with our windows open to get some fresh air anymore, what makes you think that it's safe for your child to walk to school or ride a bike to school anymore? People, it seems like we living in a time people just don't care about children no more. It's like they're having them for what? What you having kids for? To file more income taxes? Why? There are many of you out there that shouldn't even have any children. The way you treat your children. I'm sorry. I'm just, as I said, real talk with Yolanda. I'm just keeping it real. There's many of you shouldn't even have any children. I'm serious. Many of you shouldn't. And matter of fact, I'm gonna share another one. There was a in Ohio somewhere. There are some professionals who go around the world. One and his name is Mr. Dan Nash. He goes around the world with a partner. And what they do is that they professionally train police and what to look for when it comes down to sexual trafficking, human trafficking, and stuff like of that nature. He ended up speaking to a police department somewhere in a small town in Ohio somewhere. And as soon as he left, he said that the police officer or the captain called him and explained to him what just happened. And what happened was that, to make a long story short, a mother was forcing her teenage daughter to give free sex to their landlord because they could not pay their rent. Okay, make a long story short, the mother was arrested. But I share that with you to let you see there are still some sick parents out there who will sell their children, who will force them to do things that a child should not be subjected or exposed to do just because the parent cannot pay rent or cannot pay a bill or a parent has an addiction of some sort. You know, those parents right there, they shouldn't have had children. And if I was a judge, that mother right there, she wouldn't see the light of day. She would not see the light of day, and she would not be able to be around any children, let alone her grandchildren. And I would, if I was the judge, I would cut off all parental rights to that teenage daughter. I think she was like 14 or 15 years old, you know. But yeah, I would cut all parental rights from that mother. She would not be able to go near her daughter, and she would not be able to go near her grandchildren should her daughter have any children in the future. That would serve her right. You don't do that. You don't. But anyway, that's going to be another topic that we're going to address because I have a lot to say about these so-called laws that the U.S. has and other countries slacking up to. We need to have stronger laws. We need to enforce those laws. I mean, heck, like I've said many times before, heck, they'll give somebody 10 to 15 years for abusing a dog on dog. Yes, I have a dog, you guys, so don't come at me about animals and this. I already know. I already have a dog. Okay, so don't come at me. But what I'm saying is, you get 10 to 15 for abusing the dog, but somebody that molests a child, a 4 or 5 year old child, get what, 10 years? Less than what you get for a dog? Come on. Or sometimes they maybe get the same amount of time. 10 to 15. So what you're telling me is that a dog and a child, they're about the same. I mean, the value of them are the same. Come on, people. No. Anybody who rape, molest, or do any or violate a child in any way, and that includes incest for you dead on so-called deadbeat, nasty biological fathers. I'm not even gonna say fathers, but you dads, you men who provided your sperm. That's all you did. Because how in the world can you lay up there, impregnate the mother, turn around, and then when the child gets 6, 7 years old, you violate your own daughter up until they in their teens, and you impregnate in them. Oh heck, I'm not even gonna start on that because I won't get off of here. But that's gonna be another topic too. You nasty. Anyway, you guys, y'all have a good night. Bye.